Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, the Mariners. Adrian Gonzalez has retired. We'll take a look back at his career, and we'll take a look at the latest in the lockout. Let's get to it. And what is going on, baseball fans? Hello. A lot of familiar faces in the chat to start things off. Around 50 people. Let's kick things off tonight. What's going on, everyone? What do we got here? John, Dave, hello. We got a few members in the chat. We got Andrew Lee, Jameson Meza, what's going on? Harrison, how are we doing? Michael Rimmer, what's going on? Lionheart70, hello. Chris Floor, hello, my friend. Athletics 510, another member, hello. Dom Gunn, what is going on? Hirsch for real, hello. Lars, what's going on, my friend? SBFM Baseball, what is going on? Nicholas Carrasio, one of our moderators is here. Oh my goodness, I just choked. One of our moderators is here, hello. Paul, what is going on? How are we doing? Hello. Who else? We got Luke 22, Southsider 14, another familiar face, T-Bats 11, your boy, Gamer 121. What's going on? Everyone, hello. How you doing tonight? Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hey, we're in this lockout. Nothing going on in this lonely and cold time of this MLB lockout. But we do have some rumors. We do got some beat writers out there, hey, sharing some stuff from what they've heard. So we'll take a look at some of those things, including Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, the Seattle Mariners, maybe looking to add a couple of pieces after this lockout is over. We're going to talk about that lockout. I'm going to talk about kind of just what's been going on lately. I'm going to kind of dive into my thoughts and everything that's going on. And we're also going to take a look at Adrian Gonzalez. Hey, whoa, oh my God, that just destroyed me. Whoa, I got to turn my volume down. Codman752 with a $5 super chat. What's going on? Love your countdown and the warp tunnel. I got to say, the warp tunnel, that's also the Chris Jericho warp tunnel. If anyone ever wants, it was this old warp tunnel from back in the early 2000s. The wrestling fan in me always loved that little warp tunnel. So fun. And the countdown, I thought the countdown was a nice little touch. Hey, 5 minutes. Hopefully everyone can trickle in 5 minutes. What else are you saying here? Looks like the beginning to a video made in the 90s. Yeah, Chris Jericho, late 90s, early 2000s. Watched the music class back in 2007. It gives me those vibes too. Hey, but every time I see it, I think Chris Jericho, one of the best wrestlers of all time in the WWE. In AEW now, in AEW. Not the biggest wrestling fan like I used to be as a kid. Cody, what's going on, my friend? How you doing? Welcome to the channel. Not the biggest wrestling fan like I used to be. I'll still tune in here and there. I always like to see me some Brock Lesnar here and there. What can I say? But Conman752, thank you for starting things off with a $5 super chat. Everyone, let's just get into it here. I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot of thoughts to get off of my chest, and let's just get into this lockout. Let's just get this out of the way because I haven't actually talked about this yet. Our last stream came before this happened, so let me just dive into this really quick. But before I do, if anyone is new, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, the bell button, the share button, hit all the buttons for me. Alrighty, here we go. Let's get to this lockout. The latest in the lockout. The Players Association have rejected Major League Baseball's request for a mediator. But before I dive into that, let's just do a quick little update, kind of who's been asking for what. Major League Baseball, they're okay with having a bonus tool. Bonus pool, for top pre-arbitration players, but they're only offering $10 million. They're offering a minimum salary of $615,000. They want a 14-team postseason, a draft lottery for the top 3 picks. While the Players Association, they want a bonus pool for the top pre-arbitration players. So they are in agreement on that, but they're very far apart in the money. They dropped their latest offer from $105 million down to $100 million. However, that is still $90 million apart. So that's very far away, or very far apart there. Minimum salary of $775,000, so they're a little apart on that. They want less revenue for these small market teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who never go out and go sign free agents. So they think that these kind of teams should get less money. They want a higher luxury tax line, $245 million, so it gives teams more flexibility to go out and get these free agents. In other words, they want the players, they want to be able to get more contract opportunities. They're okay with adding a couple of teams to the postseason, and they're also okay with a draft lottery, but they want it for the top 7 picks, and they want those teams to be they want them to be non-playoff teams. So, in the latest in this lockout saga, I don't know what day we're at now. I mean, at this point, I'm just looking for good grief. Can we just end this thing already? But Major League Baseball, the Players Association, after they only dropped their offer from $105 million to $100 million, Major League Baseball thought, all right, there's no movement there. Let's get a mediator. But then again, I could also look at Major League Baseball and be like, well, I don't know. I mean, you're only offering $10 million for that bonus pool. And I'll actually dive into that in a little bit here as well. And I'll kind of take a look at maybe what a good price should be, or not a price, what a good amount should be for a bonus pool. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but after the Players Association only dropped their offer by about $5 million, Major League Baseball said, all right, we're going to be very far apart. Even if we counter offer this, we're not going to get anywhere near that $100 million. At this point, it feels like maybe we need a mediator. Now, there's a lot of people out there that'll say, well, the only reason you need a mediator is the only time you should get a mediator is when you're maybe kind of close and you need to kind of just get to that finish line a little bit. Well, think about it. A lot of the things that both sides want, they want a lot of the same things. They're okay with the bonus pool. They're okay with raising the minimum salary. They seem to maybe be a little close on the revenue sharing. Maybe Major League Baseball maybe the owners for these small market teams, I am sure they don't like the idea of getting less revenue. So I'm sure they're probably a little far apart on that. They're both okay with doing some kind of a draft lottery. However, they're a little far apart on the terms of how many teams. They're both okay with increasing the postseason. So they have the framework in place. It's just a matter of, can we get these numbers close? And that's where they're far apart, and that's why Major League Baseball wanted to get a mediator. However, the Players Association, they said, no, we don't want a mediator. It smells like dirty laundry a little bit. It doesn't sit right. This feels like a media ploy. We're not buying it. No, we want to go back to the negotiating table, and we want to get this resolved. So again, I can see where they're thinking that. I can see where Major League Baseball, where they would want to get a mediator. At the end of the day, you got to remember with a mediator, it's coming from the federal government. And while I'm not the biggest fan of, the government doing a whole bunch of things, but in my opinion, when you can have something like a mediator where in the past, yes, it didn't quite work back in 1994, 1995 with the strike that ended up canceling the season. It has worked in other aspects. It's worked with the NFL. It's worked with the NBA. According to a Harvard study, I'm not quite sure where that study is, but I was reading about it in an article where a Harvard study said about 70 to 80% of the time, a mediator seems to really help push things forward. So I can understand both sides here. The players, though, where, there was a bit of a, let's just say, how do I word this? I had a bit of a disagreement with someone on Twitter this past weekend. And, and it's okay to disagree. Where I'm kind of pretty much where I'm at this point with this lockout, it just feels like, all right, now we're starting to fling mud back and forth. To me, it just never helps anything. at the end of the day, when you're just throwing stuff out there onto Twitter land, the most intelligent place on earth, might I add. When you're just throwing stuff out there, just negativity, it's never going to get anything done. So to me, honestly, I understand where a lot of people, and this was a disagreement that I had with this certain person over the weekend on Twitter, where I can understand, yes, the players, they deserve to have a voice. Absolutely. They should be speaking out. They should be saying their opinions. But to me, when you're just trying to throw negativity out there, let's be real here for a second. I'm going to be very real. What exactly is that going to do? What is it going to do? Do you think really Major League Baseball, as stubborn as Major League Baseball has been, they're offering $10 million for a bonus pool while the Players Association wants $100 million. Do you really think trying to change the public perception is going to do anything? It won't do a thing. Having, guys like Max Scherzer, Alex Wood, whoever else going out into Twitter saying, we just want this, and Major League Baseball, the owners, they look bad, or they're just not being cooperative, and they're yada yada yada, just throwing out dirty laundry, slinging around mud onto Twitter. At the end of the day, yes, you should have a voice, but at the end of throwing negativity out there is never going to get anything done. Always having a conversation, always sitting down, working it out. Yes, you're going to have disagreements. Yes, you're not going to see eye to eye on a lot of things. That's okay. But you shouldn't be going out there and having, I'm sorry, Max Scherzer, you're making $40 million a year and you're going out there complaining that, you guys want more money. I'm sorry, but it's a little backwards to me. And yes, I understand you're fighting for what you think is right, and I totally respect that. But when you're going out there and yes, I understand you want the younger players to get more money. Yes, things need to be a little fair. And let me just say this right now. I think the players should be getting more money. I think they should be getting raises. I think especially these younger players, absolutely. Compared to all these other players out there, absolutely they should be getting raises. However, I'm going to be real, and this is my opinion. I'm going to say what I think, and at the end of the day, if you disagree with me, that's okay. I'm always willing to have a conversation, but I'm going to say this right now. If I went on Twitter, and I understand I'm not a baseball player. I get that. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm a dope sitting at my desk in front of a camera with a stupid light behind the camera to, brighten my face up a little bit. I'm sitting in my little studio apartment. Who the heck am I? But I know for a fact, if I went onto Twitter and I started talking trash about the company, or for me, I'm a teacher, and if I started spewing out negativity about the county that I work for, I'd get fired. I would lose my job. At the end of the day, to me, I can't buy it. When someone that's making 40 million, or however millions these guys are making, I'm sorry, but I can't, it doesn't sit right with me. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't like the negativity behind it. I don't like just throwing this stuff out there, because I also see it from the owner's point of view. Yes, I think the players need to get a bump in, especially these young players. They need to get a bump in pay raise. Absolutely they do. 100% absolutely agree. However, I also see it from the owner's point of view. I see it where all 30 of these owners, you can sit here and think what you want, but to me, I don't like that all these people, and yeah, sure, they are greedy businessmen. Why do you think they've gotten to the point of where they are? It's called business. That's what it is at the end of the day. I could sit here and think emotionally about it. I can sit here and think, oh, these are terrible people. Why can't they give these people raises? Well, you know what? At the end of the day, it's called negotiations. It's tough. Negotiations are tough at the end of the day, and they're hard, and they're going to make you mad, and they're going to annoy you, and you got to get back to the drawing board. I can understand why the players are like, why are you getting a mediator? Why can't we just go sit down? Well, Major League Baseball, they said, all right, they only decreased this part of the offer by $5 million. Like, what are we doing here? So in a way, I can see both sides. And maybe that's the boring take. Maybe it's boring that I can see it from both sides. I can look through both lenses. Maybe that's the boring take. I understand. People want, what team are you going to pick? What side are you going to pick? I don't take sides. I look at things from the outside, and I look at both ways. And I look at both point of views, and I look at both perspectives. That may be the boring answer, but to me, that's the most logical answer. When I look at the owners, absolutely, again, the players deserve to get what they want. They work hard. They train hard. I mean, they're away from their families a lot. I totally understand that. players should be compensated, and we should see some changes. We should see some changes to service manipulation. We should see more bump in these minimum salaries. We should be getting these guys like Corbin Burns and Jonathan India and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They should be compensated for what they're doing on the field, because absolutely, Vladimir Guerrero was one of the best players in Major League Baseball this year, and he was only making around, I'm only making, 600, 700,000. Yes, according to what they're bringing in as a company, yes, absolutely. More revenue, these guys should be getting more money, obviously. The only thing I have a gripe against is just going out there and just complaining and whining. At the end of the day, instead of, using this energy to complain and whine, well, how about you get back to the, you're saying Major League Baseball get back to the table. Well, why do you have to get onto Twitter and say it? Why do you got to have this negativity on Twitter? Yes, I have a voice, but use it in a more productive manner. That's just my opinion. And maybe I got a potato for a brain, so what am I talking about? But I know for a fact if I did that kind of stuff, I would get fired. I would lose my job. I would lose my benefits. I would lose my health benefits. Simple as that. I look at it from a realistic point of view. I look at it from the point of view, to me, what seems rational. Now, for the owners, I can also understand the owners as well. At the end of the day, you can sit here and think what you want about these billionaires, and again, billionaires, it's like they're making all this money. How do you think they got there? They've had to work hard too in their lives. Maybe they had a little luck along the way. But to demonize these guys, I don't know. I don't see it. And again, I'm not saying players shouldn't get money, but to look at these people like they're just evil people. They're just trying to run a business at the end of the day. They're not just trying to run a business today. They're trying to run it 10 years from now. They're trying to run it 20 years from now. They're trying to make sure that the wheel keeps on turning in a nice fluid manner. They want the WD-40 in those gears. They want it to keep going, turning and turning. The owners, at the end of the day, this is a straight fact. They're the ones that took on the risk. They're the ones that invested the money. They're the ones that if their business, if their franchise, which, hey, whatever, if it goes out of business, they're the ones that have to take it. They're the ones that have to, make up those debts. They're the ones that, and this goes to any business owner. If your business goes under, you're the one that's responsible for it. The players, let's just say, the workers at a business, if it goes under, those workers, well, they just have to find another job. At the end of the day, they don't have to worry about anything. They don't have to worry about any of those debts. They don't have to worry about any of that. The owners do. They're the ones that take on the risk. They're the ones that write the paychecks. They're the ones that have to make sure all that fancy paperwork, all the, dot your I's and cross your T's. They're the ones that have to make sure everything is good and running at the end of the day. That's just my opinion. But to me, I just don't see the productivity. I don't see how it's productive to sit, for someone like Max Scherzer, who is making $40 million, to just go on Twitter and complain. I get it. Have a voice. But how about we use it in a more productive way? Again, that's just my opinion. I'm always up for a conversation if someone wants to have it. And, hey, and, this certain person over on Twitter, it would have been nice to just have a conversation, maybe through a private message. That would have been pretty nice if you asked me. Instead of just throwing it out there in the public and, trying to, I don't know, maybe trying to start something. I don't know what it was, but it was, I don't know. To me, anyway, I respect that person at the end of the day, but it is what it is. As for the lockout itself, we do have an update, a slight update. The team owners are going to meet this week after the Players Association rejects federal arbitrator. So this is a big deal that the owners, they need, and again, I'm going to say this again. The owners, they need to step up their offers. They need to get back together and they need to think, all right, come on. Maybe they're decreasing their offer not really all that much, but we're not really increasing our offer either. So they need to step it up a little bit where, $10 million for a bonus pool, that's not really going to get things done at the end of the day. Let's be realistic. You're being stooges. Let's up the offer a little bit. I understand it's negotiations. I get that. But we need to kind of get a little more serious here, view the owners. At the end of the day, I really think it's just a negotiation tactic. where, you're going to draw it as close as you can to spring training or maybe even the start of the season. You're going to really try and push it to that limit and, just to see how much you can get out of it. Because at the end of the day, negotiations, if you're a good negotiator, you're going to move like a snail at the end of the day, and you're going to see if the other side caves. That's negotiations. And that's, to me, at the end of the day, the productive thing is for both sides to meet somewhere at a happy medium and call it a day. I'll say this right now. If, let's say the owners right now, let's say they came out and they said, okay, we're offer $50 million. That we think that's what is the right value. That's what we think is fair. We've looked at the numbers, for the bonus pool is what I'm talking about. The owners, if they said, all right, we looked at the numbers, we came to a conclusion, this is fair. Here are the numbers to back it up. You can look at it yourselves. That's what we're offering. The players are going to go out and be like, okay, no, we want 80. And then it's just, at that point, you're just not going to get it done. You're better off moving at a snail's pace and then meeting in the middle. That's just negotiating. It is what it is. And, I don't know. To me, the negativity part again of the players, I get it's like I don't really care all that much if someone's tweeting out, saying what they think and feel. But what is it going to do? It's not going to do anything. Changing the public perception. Do you think the owners of Major League I'm gonna say this right to you, the viewer. Do you think Major League Baseball cares what you think? They do not care what you think. Do you think the players coming out and going onto Twitter, and of course everyone's going to jump to their side and everyone's going to be up in arms like, oh, these owners, they're horrible people. Do you think they're going to care? They're not going to care. So what is it going to do? At the end of the day, what's it going to do? In the end, it's just going to push people away in the long run. To me, I don't know. That's just me. Because I know for a fact, if I have a problem with something, if I have something wrong and I disagree with something in my workplace, I'm going to go talk to the person that I know that I need to talk to. I'm going to go have a discussion with that person. Hey, I don't like how this is being run. I don't like how this is being done. Can we sit down and talk about it? That, to me, is the way to do it. I'm not going to go on Twitter, because if I did that on Twitter, my county, I'd be fired. I would lose my job, or I would at least have to go downtown and talk to someone about it. I know that for a fact. Anyway, but it's looking like the owners right now, they will be meeting this week. So I think that's a good step, and I think that's where they're just going to be meeting, and they're going to be like, all right, they don't want the mediator, so what do we need to do here? We need to figure something out. What is a good offer where we can start getting the wheels turning a little bit? To me, I can actually see the positivity in not wanting a mediator. I could see the benefit of it, but I could also see where it's a good thing as well that they did reject it, because, well, now they have no choice but to come back to the table. So hopefully the rejection of a mediator is going to do some good. That's what I think. And again, everything I've been saying, I'm looking at it from a point of view of what these two sides are thinking. I'm not saying if each side is right or wrong. I'm just saying what I think are the thoughts of these two sides. What I think is the reason they got the mediator is they thought, okay, well, we're far apart. Maybe some people think it's just a tactic. Maybe it could be. Absolutely, it could be. Sure, it could definitely be a negotiation ploy. It maybe does have a bit of a smell to it. It smells a little fishy. But I think at the end of the day, if it's something that's going to be helpful to get the two sides together, and I've been reading also a lot of people saying, oh, well, of course they want a federal mediator. The mediator is going to be on their side. Of course they're going to pull for the owners. That's against the law. That's illegal. You cannot do that. So I've been reading that as well. That is flat out illegal, and you cannot do that. The whole point of a mediator is the mediator does not take a side. The whole job of a mediator is to get the two sides to move forward. That's the whole point. Just saying. So that's flat out illegal if a mediator would only stick to Major League Baseball's side. That's completely illegal. So this is what we have right now. This is the update. So in the end, I hope the players get compensated. Of course, I want them to get compensated. I just don't like the negativity being spewed out because to me, that's not the way I do things. I want to go have a sit-down conversation. And to me, I don't think that's the right way to do it. But then again, the owners, I can understand why the players are frustrated because the owners aren't doing anything either. Oh, we get a super chat from Gregory Woolridge. I'm frustrated. Are you? I am absolutely frustrated, Gregory, because I want the news. I want the rumors. I want the trade rumors, the free agent rumors. I want to get baseball going again. I want the start of the season. Come on. The first 2 years on this channel, I'm not like, trying to have a pity party here, but man, I've been through some tough times on this channel the first couple of years, man. For the starting the channel was as hard enough as it was, but then we had to go through COVID, and now we had to go through, and now we have to go through this on this channel. I mean, come on, we're going through some hard times. Can we just have some baseball? Is that possible? Can these two sides just sit down and just get this done? I don't see what the problem is. Why do we only have to be meeting every, I don't understand. Why can't we all, I'm sure they all have other things that are going on. Like, I get it. They probably just can't sit down there for, 48 straight hours while eating Taco Bell. That sounds wonderful if you ask me. But to me, I don't know. Obviously, they cannot do it for some reason, but the fact that, hey, the owners are meeting, hopefully we have something by the end of the week. Hopefully we have, not a resolution, but hopefully the owners offer something by the end of the week. And hopefully the players, hopefully it just gets it moving forward. At the end of the day, it looks like you got the framework. Let's just get all the other stuff inside of it worked out. Let's get the dollar value, or let's get the dollars closer together. That's just all I want. Absolutely, Gregory. I'm very frustrated. But yeah, I just want both sides to figure this out. I'm never going to take one side. In this situation. I just can't, because I understand both sides. I understand the owners. I understand the players. If that's the boring answer, if you think I'm wrong, then okay, that's okay. I'm okay with being wrong if that's if you personally think that. That's just me. Maybe I'm just bored. I don't know. But let's get to our next story. So, moving on here, we are going to talk about, we do have some rumors out there. It feels like these rumors right now, really, it just feels like these beat reporters are digging a little bit, but can you blame them? They're just trying to get something out there. They're trying to get some news. So to me, I don't know. I don't hate it. If we got something out there to sink our teeth into, I'm all for it. I've seen a lot of people, the few stories we're going to be talking about here in a second, where you're like, oh, looks like these guys are just, they're reaching for stuff. Hey, reach. I'm all about it. Reach. Let's do it. I need something to sink my teeth into. Let's talk a little Freddie Freeman, shall we? It's looking like, according to John Heyman, I mean, to me, this doesn't really, and this is where I can understand maybe people are, maybe complaining a little bit about this one, because this is kind of what we heard before the lockout, so I don't really see anything new, but John Heyman did tweet out about this today. Let's go to the tweet. So looking at John Heyman's tweet from yesterday, the Yankees are expected to take a run at Freddie Freeman, who they love. Though first base isn't their real need, they'd love to fit one of the game's lefty hitters into their lineup. With the Braves not quickly wrapping up their star, all our options are on the table for Freeman. In the end, I feel like the Yankees, if they can get a left-handed hitting first baseman, that's going to be fantastic for that lineup. I think they really, Anthony Rizzo, I think, is, if you can bring him back as like a fallback option, I think that would be good too. But the Yankees with Freddie Freeman, the reason I like the Yankees going after Freddie Freeman instead of maybe say a Matt Olson, because most likely for Matt Olson, I would imagine one piece the A's would want would be Oswald Peraza. I'm going to scream this from the mountaintops. Yankee fans, if you're out there, please listen to me. I'm screaming from the mountaintop here. Keep Oswald Peraza. Have Oswald Peraza come into spring training. Go sign a one-year deal for maybe Andrelton Simmons, maybe Trevor Story. Probably, I don't know. To me, like, I don't know. I'd probably just go. Here's what I would do personally. And what do I know? I have a potato brain. So maybe, take this with a grain of salt. Here's what I would do. The Yankees really need to address their defense. If we go take a look here, if we look at the shortstop position from last year, the Yankees were not a good defensive team when it came to shortstop. Only ranked 23rd last year. Gleyber Torres, hey, they finally moved him off of second. They ended up having Gio Urshela take over at shortstop there. I think, to me, Gio Urshela has shown how good he can be at third base. To me, yes, I think the Yankees need to go after a shortstop, but I don't think you need to go after someone like a Carlos Correa. Maybe a Trevor Story if it's a one-year deal. I'd be okay with that if that's what it ended up being. But to me, if you want the cheapest route, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, go get someone like Andrelton Simmons, who's going to improve the defense at short. However, I'm not saying Andrelton Simmons should be your starting shortstop. Have him and Oswald Peraza go at it for the shortstop job in spring training. If Peraza has a good spring, give the job to Peraza. You know why? Because Oswald Peraza has speed, which is what the Yankees need, which is absolutely also what the Yankees need. As we can see here, they're 23rd in defense at shortstop. But actually, if we take a look at the Yankees in terms of base running last year, the Yankees were 29th last year. If I'm taking a look at Oswald Peraza, oh my goodness, I cannot type. But looking at Peraza's stats from last year, I mean, this guy was really good last year. He played at all three levels, and he performed well at all three levels. If we take a look, he had 38 stolen bases in the minor leagues last year. He had 23 stolen bases at Double-A, which, yes, he had more games there, but Double-A, you got to remember with Double-A, you got good talent in Double-A. That's where a lot of good, talented players are at. Oswald Peraza performed very well. 295 batting average, a 348 on base, a 466 slugging. I mean, sure, maybe he did strike out a little bit. Maybe you could, up these walks just a little bit. But to me, he's also great on defense. If we go take a look at the Yankees top prospects, let's go to Baseball America. If we go take a look at the Yankees top prospects, let me actually go to top 30s. Yankees, where are we at? Yankees, I believe Peraza is going to be 2 or 3. Yeah, he's number 2. Taking a look at Peraza, he's got a 55 defense. He's got a 55 arm. He's got 55 speed. He's going to really check off a lot of boxes for you. Now, I'm not saying he's, going to mash, but if you can get something out of Peraza with the bat, but if he's giving you good defense and he's giving you good speed, when he can get on base, to me, you're checking off a lot of boxes there, and you're saving a lot of money. I also think there's a reason the Yankees have not traded away Oswald Peraza at this point. I think there's a reason why they've hung on to this guy, and I think that could be what they end up doing. I think they're going to give him a chance to try and win this job out of spring training. Sure, if you do go with someone like an Andrelton Simmons, absolutely. Maybe you could go with him in the beginning of the year, and then maybe Peraza, get him going, maybe start him off at AAA, and if he's doing well at AAA, well, let's call Peraza up. Simmons, you could sign Simmons, have him start shortstop at the beginning of the year, but if you end up going with Peraza at some point, Simmons would be great off the bench. That glove off of the bench at shortstop, you can play him at second. I mean, that would be a great backup infielder who's really going to give you a lot of glove. To me, the Yankees, if you're going to go sign someone, I think it should be a first baseman. If you can get Freddie Freeman, I think that's a good option. I think if you maybe even go for it, if you can't get Freeman, go bring back Rizzo. I think either one, to me, Freeman would be the guy. Obviously, Freeman is still just hitting like a machine, but if you can't end up convincing Freeman to, maybe not re-sign with the Braves or go to the Dodgers, his hometown, or even perhaps maybe even the Blue Jays, to me, I think this is the route that you should go. Could you do a one-year deal for Trevor Story? I think that's what Trevor Story could end up doing. Maybe sign like a one-year deal like Marcus Semien did with the Blue Jays. I could see something like that happening where he needs to maybe restore his value a little bit. He didn't have a great season last year, so I could see Story doing something like that personally. But this is the route I would take. See if Peraza can win this job. Because another thing. Listen, Yankee fans, listen, this is coming from a Red Sox fan that, yes, I can be Giraffe Nick Robbie sometimes, but I hey, listen, I've picked the Yankees to go to the World Series the last couple of years. I will always be as unbiased as I can be. Always. And you all know that. With the Yankees, listen, you got to calm down with Anthony Volpe here. You have to calm down. He has not played above A ball. I'm not saying he won't be a good player, but you don't know. There have been many players who have looked really good in single A, and then they just end up looking just absolutely terrible. Look at Royce Lewis on the Twins. He was really good when he first came to when he first started professional baseball. And look at what Royce Lewis is doing. Royce Lewis is he's still barely in the top 100 prospects. This guy was one of the top prospects in all of baseball at one point. Look at Mackenzie Gore with the Padres. Mackenzie Gore, this is like one of the top prospects. He was the top pitching prospect at one point. And look at Mackenzie Gore. He's completely fallen off of a cliff. I'm not trying to, be a jerk, but I'm just saying, you gotta calm down with these prospects. They're very exciting. I understand that. Volpe looked really good last year. I'm just saying, what happens if he ends up falling off? You cannot put your eggs in one basket. You cannot do that. You have such a good situation if you're the Yankees. You have someone like Peraza that's further along and has shown that he can play in the upper levels of the minor leagues and has a good scouting report, is the number 2 prospect on Baseball America, which Baseball America is a very trusted source. To me, if I were the Yankees, my game plan right now, go sign Freddie Freeman if you can do it, make a good offer at him, have him come to the Bronx, because that would be an amazing fit to be, like, let's be real. That would be insane. If he was added to this lineup with the Yankees, oh boy, that would be crazy. And then you can maybe go, ship out Luke Voit to a National League team that could use a DH. Come on, I'm just saying. To me, the Yankees, they need to improve their defense and they need to improve their speed. Peraza checks off both of those. And if you can get Freeman as well, that's fantastic. Like, to me, that is a great looking opening day lineup. If it's not Peraza at first, maybe Simmons. I'd be okay with Simmons. If you're the Yankees, you got a lot of bats in this lineup. You got tons of bats in this lineup. If you got Simmons and he's your opening day shortstop, and then Urshela goes back to third, what's wrong with that? I don't see what's wrong with that at all. That's just me. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you're the Yankees, do you go after Freddie Freeman? I got the hiccups right now. To me, I'm still banking on the Braves, but anything is possible in today's world when it comes to free agency. Guys, you want that guy to be on your team for the rest of their career. I thought Johnny Damon was going to be with the Red Sox for the rest of his career. I thought Pedro Martinez was going to be on the Red Sox for the rest of his career. I thought Nomar would be on the Red Sox for the rest of his career. Those guys ended up going elsewhere. I thought Manny Ramirez could even be. It doesn't happen a lot these days. It does not happen a lot. If Freddie Freeman ends up moving on, look at Pujols. Pujols, this was a guy with the Cardinals. It should have been a lifelong Cardinal. Ended up going to the Angels. It's very possible. I remember that. People were like, oh, he's got to be going back to the Cardinals. He's got to be. Bryce Harper. Look at Bryce Harper. A lot of people thought this is going to be a national for life. They made him an offer. It obviously didn't work out. But it's very possible Freeman can go elsewhere. And it stinks. For the Braves, I hope they get him back. I hope they offer him something. But at the end of the day, if the Braves, if they feel like his value is not worth it and they don't want to have like the last few years of that contract be, kind of hurtful towards them, then they're not going to do it. So I understand what he's done for that community. I understand what he does for that organization. He should be an Atlanta Brave. I personally think so. But it's a business at the end of the day. And if he ends up going elsewhere where he feels like he's getting a better contract and he's getting more money, I feel like Freddie Freeman's going to do it. I feel like he's going to do it. And if the Yankees can be that team, that's, as a Red Sox fan, that does not make me very excited. So let's move on here. Let's move on. That's enough Freddie Freeman for right now. Let's take a look. We got the Texas Rangers coming up next. The Texas Rangers. Hey, my predictions for free agency, they're just awful. They're just completely down the tubes. At one point, I did have Corey Seager going to the Rangers, and then I changed. I had him going to the Yankees at first. Then I picked the Rangers, and then I went back to the Yankees. And that didn't work out. My whole free agent predictions are just down the tubes right now, but at least I said in the beginning of that video that they're going to be all wrong. But I might get one right. And that could be Clayton Kershaw to the Rangers. I really think this is going to happen. I got a good feeling about it. Let's go to the story here. So the Texas Rangers right now, I mean, like I said, we talked about this earlier with Marcus Semien, Corey Seager going to the Rangers this offseason. They also brought in Cole Calhoun. The Rangers right now, they're on a good path. You're bringing in 2 guys to the middle of your infield. You got some young guys on this team. The Rangers are starting to look pretty good. To me, though, one thing that really needs to be given attention is the Rangers really want to improve the culture of that organization. They don't just want to bring in talent. They want guys that are going to create a winning culture in Texas. They need to get back to their winning ways. And to me, Clayton Kershaw should be the guy you go after. I understand he's had some health problems in the past, but I'm sorry. At the end of the day, if your opening day starter is John Gray, no disrespect to John Gray, I think he could be a solid piece in your rotation. Oh, but come on. I can't have John Gray being my opening day starter. Come on. I want Clayton Kershaw as my opening day starter. And according to reports, it's looking like Kershaw should be good to go for next year. Man, if you can have a rotation of Kershaw, Gray, and if maybe somehow Jack Leiter ends up making it through to the major leagues this year, which I would temper expectations just a little bit. Jack Leiter had some issues. While he did look really good with Vanderbilt last year, he did have some issues with the home run ball, and that could definitely escalate in the major leagues. So I think pump the brakes a little bit on Jack Leiter. Yes, there is a ton of talent in that arm, but if he can rise quickly through the minor leagues, to me, if you can have Jack Leiter, who ends up being really solid, Clayton Kershaw, John Gray, and then Dane Dunning as your 3 or 4, and then you also got Spencer Howard too, where he was a top pitching prospect at one point. I mean, come on, that would look really good. And Clayton Kershaw, he's a Texas guy, originally from Dallas. Yes, he won the COVID championship a couple of years ago, but he's held up a World Series trophy at the end of the day. He overcame his postseason demons once and for all in that postseason. Clayton Kershaw, if you can bring this guy in, I think that's what they should do. Sure, you got guys like Carlos Rodon out there, but to me, I think, we got a super chat coming in. Hawk's Eye View with $1.99 with a thumbs up. Hawk's Eye, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Thank you. Clayton Kershaw, to me, is the guy that you should be bringing in. So if you take a look, Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News takes a look at some paths the club could take after the lockout, emphasizing that the main priority is starting pitching. I agree. I think you've added bats. I think starting pitching is what you need to do. With the unresolved Clayton Kershaw situation being a key pivot point for the Rangers, most of the top free agent starters were snapped up before the lockout, leaving Kershaw and Carlos Rodon as the only front-end options remaining. Although both of those hurlers have questions about their health after dealing with injuries in 2021, they should garner plenty of interest after the lockout due to the dearth of similar options. So take note, Chris Woodward, that ended up being a bit, that helped sway Corey Seager come to Texas, because Corey Seager had a relationship with Chris Woodward with his time with the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw also has a relationship with Chris Woodward. So Clayton Kershaw there, and also Chris Woodward in November admitted that the club has had discussions with Kershaw. I'm sorry. I think Clayton Kershaw he's going to go to the Rangers. I think so. I think he definitely could go back to the Dodgers, of course, but I don't know. The Dodgers, the health stuff and whatever. I wonder if the Dodgers, they probably have a set value on him. The Rangers are in a position to kind of spend a little bit more money right now. While the Dodgers, they could make an offer to him, but are they going to budge? To me, are they going to get in a bidding war with the Texas Rangers? The Rangers want Kershaw. Will the Dodgers get in a bidding war for him? I don't think they will. I think they'll let him go, and I think they'll thank him. They'll put out the Twitter posts. They'll put out all that stuff saying, hey, Clayton Kershaw, thank you so much. You're a Dodger legend, yada, yada, yada. I think he could end up going to the Rangers. I really think that. Could you go out and make a trade maybe for someone like, maybe Zach Greinke, Luis Castillo, sure. But I think the Rangers right now, their farm system, they got a few pretty good prospects at the top. But the Rangers farm system, I do like a lot. It's very top heavy. There's some really good bats at the top of that lineup, some good arms as well. But when you start getting kind of lower, I feel like the Rangers, they're really trying to help improve their team now, but they want their future. They want to start building up that farm system as well. To me, I think they'd rather just spend the money right now and continue to develop that farm system. I feel like the farm system, it's in a good place. It's not in a great place. So that's why I think the Rangers, while it would be great to go after Luis Castillo, maybe Sonny Gray. I feel like the Reds, they might be, to me, Sonny Gray is a very affordable guy. And he's going to give you good innings for the Cincinnati Reds. So I wonder if they're going to let him off or let him go rather easily. I think Clayton Kershaw is the guy. That's the guy. That's going to really help change the culture of the pitching staff. He's going to be really good for guys like Jack Leiter. He's going to be good for guys like Spencer Howard. He's going to be good for guys like Dane Dunning. Clayton Kershaw is almost like a player coach at this point. I mean, the guy's just been fantastic in his career. He would not just be really good on the field. He'd be really good for just all the other guys on the team as well. I think Clayton Kershaw would be absolutely fantastic for the Texas Rangers. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you think he's a better fit for the Rangers? Do you think he's a better fit for the Dodgers? Do you think he should go elsewhere? Let me know what you think down below. Let's move on here. Let's stay in the National League West. We have the Seattle Mariners. It's looking like the Mariners, they might be in a position after the lockout to possibly add at least 2 position players. Now, when I'm looking at this, they've already added Robbie Ray. They also brought in Adam Frazier in a trade. If I'm looking at the Seattle Mariners right now, to me, there's a lot of guys here. You got a lot of guys, a lot of position players that are going to be vying for playing time. Kyle Lewis is going to be coming back. He's projected as their DH right now. Jared Kelenich's there. Could you see Julio Rodriguez at some point this year? Maybe towards the end of the year, I could see something like that. Jake Fraley, what do you do with someone like him where he had a really good on-base percentage last year, but he dealt with injuries, COVID last year. He had some good times during the season, but is that a guy that you want to give the opening day left field job to? Abraham Toro, he showed flashes last year, but could this be a guy where he's 25 years old? I think the Mariners would be okay with having him be their third baseman or second baseman. But to me, I think the guy that you go after Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant to me is the best fit because he can play multiple positions. I've said that a million times on these streams. I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. I don't care. But Chris Bryant, that guy, if he is your opening day, somewhere in that lineup, that is going to be awesome. He can go play third. He can go play first. He can go play in the outfield. Chris Bryant would not just be valuable based off of his bat, but also because of his versatility. And I think he's a really good fit for the Mariners. Could you go with someone like Trevor Story? You have J.P. Crawford right there. But the Mariners have come out and said, hey, Dipoto, he has said, hey, J.P. Crawford, that's our guy. That's going to be our guy for short. If you have a chance to add a top shortstop in the game, I think you do it. To me, Trevor Story, could you have him at second base, but you also brought in Adam Frazier last year. He's not going to give you too much when it comes to, power and RBIs, but he's going to be a guy that can get hits. He's a guy that can get on base. Didn't do as well when he came over to the Padres in that trade last year. He was better with the Pirates, but he said in this article here, I disagree with this. He said here, where was it here? Where is it? Hold on. Control F. Where is it in this article? Oh, he said it right here. Perhaps more interesting is the idea that the Mariners could potentially add 2 of those names to the fold. We'll get to Seiya Suzuki here in a second. Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times suggests that it's at least possible for Seattle to add both Bryant and Story, adding not to underestimate the possibility that Frazier could be traded before playing a game for the Mariners. I doubt that. I just doubt that. I don't see that. I mean, that does not happen very often where you get a guy, I know there are examples out there. The big example for me was Mike Piazza when the Marlins traded for him, then they traded him to the Mets back, years ago. I just don't see that happening. To me, I just don't even think that was worth writing because I just don't see that happening. I mean, sure, if you were able to get Trevor, if I were to pick, I would rather have a Trevor Story instead of Adam Frazier. Adam Frazier, the good thing about him is that he can move around. So then you also got someone like Seiya Suzuki. I think he does make sense for the Mariners. Now, do you prefer Seiya Suzuki or Jake Fraley? If you get Suzuki, he would go out and left or whatever. Mitch Haniger, would he go left? Whatever. Seiya Suzuki can fit into this outfield. He absolutely can. I think Suzuki does make sense, but I think Fraley, he's a guy where I would love to see what he could do over a full season. He was a guy that really got on base last year. He had some good moments last year. So I'm just saying, do you want Suzuki, a guy that's not proven in the major leagues? Or do you want to go give Jake Fraley another chance? That's why I think bring in Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant, you can fit him here somewhere. Maybe you could have him at third, and then Toro can be, maybe a backup infielder, utility kind of a guy. And then you can have Chris Bryant at third. And then if worst comes to worst, if Fraley isn't doing anything, you could have Chris Bryant go out to left, and then you could have Toro go back to third. That's the value that Chris Bryant brings, is that you can bring in Bryant, and then, someone is going to have to go to the bench. But I think that is a risk worth, to me, that's a risk worth taking. To me, but if you bring in Story, he's going to be locked in at either short or second. I don't see that. I just don't see that happening. I mean, he's going to have to take over for someone. He's going to take over Crawford or Frazier. I don't see him taking over either of those. And then Suzuki. Again, back to the point. Do you want a guy that's unproven in the major leagues? He could end up being something, but he is, just like any free agent, he is a risk. But he's a bit more of a risk because he's international. So while Jake Fraley, he has shown you he can hit well at the major league level. Sure, he only hit 210 last year, but I believe after he came back from injury last year, he was hitting around like 250, 260. He had a good on base, a decent slugging percentage, but then he got COVID. He came back and he just kind of lost his groove. So that's why I would like to see Fraley get more of a chance if he can. But to me, if you're adding one of these guys, it's Chris Bryant all the way, no doubt, all day long. Absolutely. So if you're the Mariners, let me know. Who would you want to add? Would you want to add Chris Bryant? Would you want to add Trevor Story? Would you want to add Seiya Suzuki? Let me know down below in the comments. Very interested to see what you all think. Let's move on here. We got one more story before we get out of here. And this is a guy I'm a little familiar with, back in the ever so faithful 2011 Red Sox season. Still bothers me to this day. Adrian Gonzalez was a big part of it. I was really excited when the Red Sox got Adrian Gonzalez. I thought he was the perfect fit. He was a first baseman. They needed a first baseman. Adrian Beltre was on his way out. He had a really good year, but then he went to the Rangers. Kevin Youkilis could move over back to third. Adrian Gonzalez at first base, left-hander. He could hit to all fields. He was a really good opposite field hitter. He was the perfect fit for the Red Sox. He was perfect. And he was really good that first year with the Red Sox. He finished top 10 in MVP voting. He was an all-star, a gold glover, silver slugger. He was great for the Red Sox that year. Hit .338, had a .410 on base, a .548 slugging. He had 27 home runs, 117 RBIs. Then in 2012, he still had some good numbers. However, his slugging percentage definitely took a dip. He ended up only in 2012, he only hit 18 home runs overall, which was pretty down from what he had done. 2009 with the Padres, he had 40 home runs, and then he steadily declined after that. With the Red Sox, he was still pretty good in 2012, but he wasn't really that middle of the order kind of a bat they were looking for at that point. His on base also dropped a lot. If you take a look, in 2011, he had a 410 on base, and then with the Red Sox in 123 games, he had a 343 on base. Really dropped. Still a pretty good on base percentage, but Gonzalez wasn't as sharp in that second season with the Red Sox. And I remember, and then there was the whole thing where, the Red Sox in 2011, they ended up, sadly, horribly, very disappointingly missing the playoffs in 2011 after that horrible September. And then Adrian Gonzalez was said, hey, this is God's plan, whatever. And people did not want to hear that. They were like, are you serious? You're going to say this is God's plan? There's a time and place for that, but this isn't, not now. Conman 752, what's going on? May the image of Robert Antino. Oh, I hate this already. Hitting and Carl Crawford basically going after. Oh, this is horrible. No. Conman, come on. Come on. It's already a tough time as it is with this lockout, and you got to throw that on me. Brutal. But you know what? That will always live in my head because I remember I'm sitting there at my TV. I'm like my hands are like this on my nose. I got my elbows on my knees, and I'm just like, I'm dying. I'm just waiting for the inevitable. And it happened. And we were so close to winning that game too. Papelbon was on the mound. Lester actually threw a pretty good game that game. I think he went, 5 or 6 innings in that game. Only gave up a run or two. Man. Tough, man. God, man, I hate you for that. God. It will haunt my dreams tonight. But hey, Conman, thank you for the $5, my friend. Thank you. But Adrian Gonzalez, that first year with the Red Sox, I was super excited for him. A lot of Red Sox Nation were excited for him. Second year, he was still pretty good, just wasn't as good. And then the ever so faithful big time trade. Remember, this was after the waiver deadline too, or after the trade deadline. This was before the waiver deadline at the time. It's a little different now with how they do things, but he was a part of the trade with, speaking of Carl Crawford, Conman, Carl Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez, and Josh Beckett got shipped to the Dodgers in that big trade, basically a salary dump, which allowed the Red Sox to go out in free agency the next year, sign guys like Mike Napoli, Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, Steven Drew. They were able to bring in some of those guys, and then it helped them win a World Series in 2013. With Adrian Gonzalez, with the Dodgers, he was pretty good with the Dodgers. If you take a look at his numbers, in 6 seasons with the Dodgers, hit 280, had a 339 on base, 454 slugging. But as you can see, his best days were behind him. With the Padres, that's where he performed his best. He averaged a 288 batting average, a 374 on base, a 514 slugging over the 800 games, the 5 years that he played, 161 home runs. If I were to do some quick math, 161 divided by 5, that's an average of 32 home runs per season. But yeah, when he went to the Dodgers, his power definitely diminished. It seemed like he was, I don't know, he kind of maybe became more into, hitting for the gaps. He was hitting more opposite field. But that's why he was a really good fit for the Red Sox, because he was extremely good at hitting opposite field. So people were thinking, oh my God, with the monster, this guy's going to be nuts. He's going to be hitting doubles all day. And if you actually go back to 2011, he had 45 doubles that year with the Red Sox. That was, I believe, the second highest of his career. In 2007, he was hitting a lot more doubles for the Red Sox in 2012. He was on pace to get, obviously with the Dodgers, he played 36 games. If I were to actually do some more quick math here, 123 divided by 37. So that's an average of 3.3. And then, so if you do that by, how many games did he play total? 159. Oh, wait, no, I'm not doing, oh, whoops, I didn't do the math right. So let's do, what was it? 37 divided by 123. That's 0.30 times. He played 159 games. Yeah, he was on pace for 48. Yeah, so 48 doubles. So he would have ended up getting a ton of doubles that year as well. 2011, a doubles machine. He led the major leagues in hits, 213 hits that year. So his lone 2 seasons with the Red Sox season and a half, I guess, or season and 3/4 were really good. So to me, I always will remember Adrian Gonzalez being extremely good. But in the end, his career just dwindled. He was with the Mets that last year. He just really wasn't able to get anything done. With the Dodgers, he was pretty solid for the most part. He actually led the major leagues with 116 RBIs in 2014. He was still pretty good in 2014. But his slugging, it wasn't what it used to be with the Padres. It was still pretty high that year, but overall, I mean, he had that one, good all-star season in 2015. He was pretty solid for the most part with the Dodgers. So overall, it was a good season. It was a good career for Adrian Gonzalez. Had over 2,000 hits. Will he be an all-star? A Hall of Famer? I don't think he will be, personally. But, I mean, really good numbers all across the board. A 358 on base, just below a 500 slugging, an 843 career OPS, 317 home runs. And that's a solid career. Over 2,000 hits, 300 home runs, 1,200 RBIs. I'm pretty sure there's not a lot of guys out there that could say they have all of those numbers. So, Adrian Gonzalez, I think the best of his career was with the Padres. But in the end, I think, I think that downer of a 2011 season, if that didn't happen with the Red Sox that year, could maybe Adrian Gonzalez be a little bit more remembered? Possibly if they had made the postseason that year, maybe Gonzalez goes off in that postseason and they make some kind of a run. Maybe he gets remembered a little bit more. But in the end, he had a really good career. So, hey, Adrian Gonzalez, good 2011 season. Thank you for that 2011 season. But the only thing about 2011 I'm going to remember is how sad I was going to bed at the end of that season. So, everyone, I am going to get out of here. It is just around 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. I'm actually going to go try and record a couple of videos before I call it a night. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Still over 100 people in the chat. I really want to thank all of you for coming out. Most likely we'll have something tomorrow night as well. I'm sure there will be news out there. You know where to find me. I'm usually live Sunday through Thursday. I usually take Friday, Saturday off, and then I'm back on Sunday. So, everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. Have yourself a great night. Also, thank you for the super chats tonight. Have yourself a good night, and I'll talk to you next time.